Alrighty, good evening everybody. My name's Jay Protostar and welcome to what I am going to dub for, at least for now, the J Protocast, where tonight we are talking with, I'm talking with Adman and Kiryu as usual, but talking about Toy Story 4. And I apologize for the cropped movie posters, but I could find literally nothing else that was in HD to put as a background for this, so bite me. Yeah, those are their own intros now.
Mm-hmm.
So Toy Story. Like, see if we can start this podcast off with the actual topic instead of talking for a minute and then going straight into a rant.
Toy Story, good movie. Go watch it. All right, podcast over. Bye.
Okay, first Toy Story. Yes, this one, nah.
No, but for real, it's a good movie.
Okay, the movie is good, but that's why we're here, to discuss what I like and what I don't like about it, and you people either agree with me or get kicked out of the stream. So the first three Toy Stories are like one of the best movie trilogies of all time, like hands down. I mean, the first one was just completely revolutionary for being like the first like full CGI movie, especially one that was as good as it was. And even going back to it, I mean, of course the film is just fine. Like the animation's dated, but it's not bad.
It's not that dated.
Will you put your Cyndaquil away? Well, I mean, when you look at, like, if you look at Scud in the original, how his fur is just model, like, straight on it. There's no hair engine, because they didn't do that till Monsters, Inc.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's just, like, a solid model instead of having individual hair strands. Like, that's just one thing. Like, there's details that haven't aged very well, but the animation itself is still fine.
It's still passable by even today's standards compared to some of the animated movies out there.
Except for the people. The humans are... I wouldn't say the humans have aged very well.
The toys themselves.
Well, that's the strength of the movie, is it's mostly focused on the toys. But yeah, the humans look a little off. They were much better by the time Toy Story... Like, Toy Story 2 all around just looks so good.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have many of the problems because it was after Pixar had done Bug's Life, and I think... No, Monsters, Inc. was 2000, wasn't it? 2001?
Yeah, around there.
Monsters, Inc.? Yeah, I think, like, 2001, 2000?
Yeah, so it was before Monsters, Inc., but the Toy Story 2 looks really good, especially when compared to the original, and also, it's just all around one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Toy Story 2
really
is
good one.
So good. I could talk for a long time.
It's probably one of the best sequels of all
Toy Story
time.
2 is personally one of my favorites too.
Yeah, Toy Story 2 joins the ranks of Terminator 2 and Aliens as sequels that surpass the original, in my book at least.
And
it's just funny because
like
comparing those two, like those sets of movies, is night and fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's Toy Story, here's Aliens.
I mean, same movie, am I right?
Buzz, I got movement on the scanner.
Little did you know, Buzz Lightyear is actually a colonial marine.
Yes, Buzz Lightyear, the colonial marines. I want that animated series. Let's redo the old Buzz Lightyear animated series and make it where he's fighting xenomorphs.
Oh, jeez. Something to watch.
Oh, yeah, and that animated series is actually one of my favorite shows growing up. Like, as far as, like, Saturday morning stuff. And I went back, I'd never seen the movie. Pretty... Like, you know, like that direct-to-video movie that started the series?
What?
Like Buzz Lightyear of Star Command?
It was like
cartoon
that
show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had never actually seen that movie, and I found it on YouTube the other day, and I watched it, and it actually holds up. It's still pretty funny. And I also been watching a couple episodes, because most of the series is also on YouTube, surprisingly. So I was watching a couple episodes just to see how good it was compared to what I remembered, and it's actually still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It still got some legit laughs out of me, so I'm happy with that. So yeah, Toy Story 2 spawned a lot of cool stuff, and then we got years later. Toy Story 3 was 2010.
Toy Story 3.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was 2010.
Shit. Fuck. Let me check.
Anyway.
I think it might have been a bit younger than that.
It was either 09 or it was 10. I feel like it was. It might have been 09.
I think it was 010.
Toy
I feel like it was 2010.
Story 3, 2010, yeah.
Haha, I was right. Alright, cool.
Yeah, Toy Story 2 was 1999.
Yeah, a year after most of us were born, except Adam, because he's old.
And the original Toy
Hey,
Story...
man, come on.
You're a year older than us, Adam. I'm just giving you crap. Yeah, original Toy Story was 95.
Yeah, 95 and then 99. And then they didn't make another one until 2010.
Gap. Yeah, and then we had a 9-year
Toy
gap.
Story 4.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a long.
Yeah, it was a pretty good chunk of time, but Toy Story 3 was really good. I wouldn't rank it above 2. I've already kind of established 2's my favorite, but 3 was really, really good. And I think I've only seen it once. I think I only saw it once when it came out in theater, so it has been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, Toy Story 3 was the first movie to ever make me cry.
I can tell you, Toy Story 3 is really deep.
Dude, Toy Story 2 made me cry. Dude, that whole Jessie bit, God, that's fucking sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. But yeah, no, Toy Story 3, I don't remember it impacting me that much when I first saw it. But, you know, kind of thinking back in retrospect, I mean, that's some pretty cool. I mean, you got, like the toys, like, accepting their fate going into the incinerator is, like, just so goddamn tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, really tragic.
Yeah.
And, of course, can't forget about the ending.
Not as tragic as the ending to Toy Story 4, but we'll get into that after our quick little recap here of the original trilogy.
We're still technically on topic.
Yeah, no, we are on topic. We're just doing a quick recap before we get to the new one. But Toy Story 3 was really good. Like, it improved, like, you know, it had more, well, modern for the time animation, but still really good. It just really good. Like, even more attention to detail than before. The animation was great. We got a bunch of new characters. We got the...
Yeah.
What felt like, well, what really was the end of the Toys arc of, like, okay, Andy's, like, in college now, so we're all figuring out what the hell's going on, and they're trying to figure out what the hell they're supposed to do now. And then they all kind of accept at the end, like, you know, they can't always be there for Andy, but there can always be another kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
when they get like passed on to Bonnie at the end of the film, and it's just it's such a good ending, and I love it. And that's why I'm kind of upset this movie even exists, because it doesn't retcon the ending, but it makes it so it's no longer the ending. So it kind of retcons it. It retcons 3 as the ending of the series, essentially.
It retcons our feelings.
Unfortunately, the retcons don't care about your feelings, Java.
Yeah. Fucking retcons are Ben Shapiro.
Every time.
That's not a comparison I want to try and make. That's a very complicated comparison.
Yeah, because retcons are actually good.
No, I'm going to disagree. I can't stand retcons. I can't stand negative retcons. Positive retcons are okay, but negative ones drive me nuts.
Nope, can't accept the negatives.
The end of Toy Story 3 was like, alright, that's it. Like,
we're done.
Like
we're done.
They belong to someone else now. Their whole story's over. Alright, go home. And then this movie came out, it's like,
hey, we still want more of your money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I gotta hand it to him.
Needs his money.
I gotta hand it to him. I did see it opening night, but only because my Fandango $5 coupon was expiring, and it was like, and it was like legit funny to me, because I got an email from Fandango, because that's how I usually buy my movie tickets. It's like, hey, you got a $5 ticket or a coupon.
This stream is sponsored by Fandango.
No, it's not. Though if they want to give me free shit, I'll take it. But I was like, hey, use your coupon, it's expiring. So I was like, okay. And I look, and I'd never gotten it before, so I thought it was just like, you know, $5 off a purchase. But no, it's $5 off like a specific movie ticket or like a rental. So, but it was all like for new stuff that's coming out. So I was looking through, it's like, Toy Story 4? Doesn't that movie not come out till like next month? And I was like, oh, that comes out tomorrow. I don't know why I thought it was coming out in July and not June, but yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. Guess I'm going to see Toy Story opening night, and I did. Wasn't quite as packed as Endgame was, but you know, there were a lot of people. There was like a really vast audience too, because you had like parents bringing their kids, and then you had like a bunch of people like our age and older who had like seen all the old ones, so they were there in like full, you know, Toy Story gear and all that stuff. And then there was me. I was like, I don't have any Toy Story shirts, but I mean, I love the hell out of Toy Story 2. I watched that to death. I used to have... that was the only Toy Story movie I ever had like on VHS for a long time, and then we eventually got the first one. So I've seen Toy Story 2 the most out of all of them, and it's probably why I think it's the best, because I'm biased, but it's still a really good film overall.
Yeah.
And then 3 is also really, really good. And then this one, Toy Story 4, just to finally quit like recapping and get to this, and we'll keep going back to compare it, because of course we're going to compare it to the old ones. So Toy Story 4 finally comes out, and there's a lot to unpack here.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
to
did
do
not even know that was Keanu Reeves until the credits rolled. I was like, that was Keanu Reeves? What the hell?
The man, the myth, the legend.
The plastic Canadian who couldn't jump through a ring, and so he was thrown out.
But he's breathtaking.
No, he's not.
It was funny because a lot of the marketing for Toy Story was like, "Hey, look, Keanu Reeves in Toy Story." What did you know?
Laugh. It's just like I never saw any of that, like at all. Like that totally bypassed me somehow. I just like showed up, saw the credits, like, oh, okay. I don't recognize Keanu Reeves' voice. I have not seen him in enough anything. Like I haven't watched The Matrix. I haven't watched anything else he's been in.
You serious?
Yeah. No, I'm serious. I've never watched The Matrix. Any of them. And I don't know any other movies he's in.
Bill and Ted. John Wick.
Oh yeah, John Wick. That was the other one. I've heard of Bill and Ted. Yeah, I haven't watched any of the John Wick films either. So I don't know. I'm not a big Keanu Reeves-ophile or whatever, but I was kind of didn't know.
I don't think that's how it's called.
That's what I'm gonna call you. You're a Keanu Reeves-ophile, or just a Reeves-ophile.
Something like that.
Christopher Reeves-ophile.
I want to keep my legs.
Aren't those just called vegans?
What?
No, you don't want to hear that joke.
I'm just not gonna go back to that. I just remembered I was thinking of uploading the Kingdom Hearts cast, and I just remembered, oh yeah, I have to edit something you said at the end before I can do that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Don't repeat it. Anyway,
Burn.
Yeah, it's okay. So Keanu Reeves was the little Canadian dude. What was his name again?
Chuck something.
Chuck Mangione.
Chuck Norris.
No.
Yes.
No, that was not his name. Anyway, he's the flying Canadian. The something Canuck. I don't remember. I honestly, his character was so like I didn't even care. So I don't remember his name, but yeah, the Canadian dude who was on a motorcycle. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of like a being tangent. So the film starts off. Oh yeah, and I guess like major spoilers. Like I tagged this with spoilers in the title of the video of the stream, but just right now that we're gonna get into like the thick of Toy Story 4, you haven't seen it? Here's your spoiler warning.
Yep.
So now, how about how Woody dies at the end? Yeah, I kept messing with people saying that when they haven't seen it yet. So when we start off, it's relatively not long after the end of Toy Story 3, where it's just like they're all being played. They're being played with by Bonnie, except Woody. She just took his badge off and gave it to Jessie. I was just like, wow, why don't you just take his non-existent like genitals while you're at it too?
Yeah.
Can't take the man's badge? What the hell? I'm also surprised that even comes off. You would think that like it wouldn't come off, because otherwise it would have been lost a long time ago, considering how old a toy Woody is.
Yep. And why?
Yeah. So the starts off, and the whole movie kind of revolves around this like complex Woody gets out of nowhere, where he's like hasn't been played with for 3 weeks, and he's just like feels like he can't do anything anymore. And we'll analyze it like at the end. I just want to kind of go through a plot summary and kind of talk about some of the plot points, and then do the big analysis of what I like the breakdown at the end. And And so it's like Bonnie's first day of actual like kindergarten, so a real structured like education kind of
structured education kind
and Woody he was the one that was around when Andy was in kindergarten, which kind of further reinforces the theory that Woody's mom, Andy's mom was like
Kaboom.
Duke Kaboom. That's his name. Was like Jesse's original owner.
I don't know why I thought it was some. I don't know why I thought it was Chuck.
Chuck Kaboom.
Yeah.
Chuck Kaboom.
Anyway. Yeah. So he sneaks into Bonnie's backpack, even though the doll, who is apparently like in charge, so she's like the Woody of Bonnie's toys, essentially. So I guess it's also like he has to deal with the new hierarchy, because he's used to being kind of the leader, and now there's this king doll that's half his size telling him what to do. Anyway, so he sneaks into her backpack, goes with her, and so she's having all kinds of problems because I never understood why kids didn't. Like, there's this thing where kids don't like the first day of kindergarten. Like, I freaking love my first day of kindergarten. There's so much new stuff to do and all kinds of toys and stuff.
I don't remember my first day of kindergarten.
I was totally hyped for my first day of kindergarten. I can remember my first day of preschool vaguely. So, but I was totally...
It's been a long time since mine.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all about the same age. So... Yeah, I've never really got, like, the kids being scared of it. I mean, I guess I had the advantage of being in preschool beforehand, but I don't remember being scared of preschool either. Anyway, long story short, I'm perfect. But, so he sneaks with her. She's, like, by herself and is all nervous and stuff. So he like, they risk breaking the rules a lot in this movie of being seen. He, like, sneaks over, like, gets some stuff out of the trash for her to like construct something with, and then she makes Forky, the spork toy made out of a spork, like what I can only assume to be clay, sticks, and googly eyes that Disney's trying to sell you in a plastic format for $15.
When you can make it for about $1.
You can literally make it, but you know what? You won't have the official licensed version.
Oh no, we're gonna get sued.
That's just the funniest stuff, but... And apparently when you make a toy, it is now sentient, or it's always been sentient, or whatever. Whatever. It doesn't really matter that he is sentient. More that it doesn't matter like how that happens. It's more like that he is, and then Woody's like trying to keep him from committing suicide essentially by throwing himself away.
Because, he keeps on trying to like for all intents and purposes kill himself.
Yeah, his non-existent brain is hardwired to throw himself away because he's trash. But like, how does he remember he's trash? Is like every like part of a toy have its own like sentience, but it can't actually move until it's constructed into a toy?
Yeah.
Like that's the big question here, because like he knows he's trash, but how does he know he's trash? He like just got brought into existence.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like until toys are opened, they don't have sentience.
Memory?
Yeah, like anything, really. Because, like, when Buzz came out, like, the first time he came out of the box and Andy set him down, he, like, immediately went through his backstory, like, his toy backstory. Like, he thought he was landed on some planet.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, but Forky doesn't have a backstory, but he wasn't, like, made with one. So, it's like, is that it? Like, his backstory is he's garbage? And he just like somehow knows that, even though he wasn't. Like, it's all kinds of weird. I mean, honestly, there are a lot of questions in this series that you really just can't ask because it kind of breaks the films. Like, who sets the rules? Like, why can't they? Like, why are toys that think they're still toys don't move when humans are around? Like Buzz does in the first movie. Like, he still pretends to be a toy even though he doesn't think he's one. Like, how does that work? There's just things that for the sake of enjoying the movie you can't ask because there's no answer to the question at all.
Nope. No question at all.
Just like, well, see, there's the god of all toys. So there's it's stuff you can't really. It's fun to ponder just because we've never quite had something like this before, but in the end, it doesn't really mean much to try and figure it out. So a lot of the I guess you could kind of say the first act of this film is Woody keeping being Forky's suicide buddy, and stopping him from jumping in the garbage, and yeah, that's kind of like a big part of it. Yeah, Toy Story 3.
a major plot part of that movie is suicide.
No. And then after all that, they like it's like her first week or whatever is done, and so they're like going on a road trip. So they're going on this road trip in whatever it looks like Pacific Northwest, but could just be Midwest or something. I can't tell. Just based off
somewhere in America.
Based off all the mountains and forests, you know. No, Toy Story 2 is the best one ever, hands down. Well, my younger brother's in the chat because I was messing with him on his stream earlier today, like an hour ago. Yeah, so they go on the road trip, and we still got him trying to keep Forky in, is like where Bonnie can find him, and that's honestly how a lot of the first act breaks down. Is it's mostly just that. There's not a whole lot of side. Like it's still done well. They have enough ways of being creative that it's still funny, even though it's basically the same joke every time. But I think the writing was good enough to get away with it. You don't have a wife. Don't try and mess with me. Yeah, anyone that actually listens to this like a True Blue podcast doesn't see the chat is going to be really confused.
Wait, what?
Well, I can read the chat. And I'm kind of responding to it. Maybe I shouldn't, but... And then we finally get to a part where where Forky jumps out the window, and Woody like follows him out because he knows where they're stopping, and he's like, we can catch up. And I was just thinking that you must have a lot of time considering you have those little like 2-inch legs of yours.
Catching up to a moving vehicle.
Well, not a moving vehicle, just getting to where they're stopping.
To the like the park.
Yeah, it was like, well, it's like a small town that was having like a fair or something.
Yeah,
so,
like one of those.
Yeah, so that's where like Woody kind of opens up to Forky what it means to be a toy and that was like really I love that. It was so like real and heartfelt when he's talking about being there for Andy and being what the greatest things about being a toy and all that. And that's when Forky kind of like comes around to being a toy.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's a nice little like progression for this character that doesn't do like a whole lot aside from being the comic relief for the first act, and as we move into the second, it's like a little more like he still doesn't really know how the world works, but he kind of like begins to understand his place in it as a toy, quote unquote.
Yep.
Yeah, so as they're like catching up, because they do make it into town, and then they're passing by. Oh yeah, we totally forgot about the opening of this movie, where it's a big flashback to when Bo Peep leaves, which is like it's like mentioned in Toy Story 3, but we didn't see it happen, and we actually do see it happen at the beginning of this movie, like when Bo Peep's like lamp gets sold or given away to some dude, and like Woody tries to like save her, and then she's just like, no, it's time for the next kid. It's fine. What? And she like like offers for him to come with, but like he like knows he can't leave Andy, and that's kind of like where that leaves off. And then we go into the I totally spaced on that. Anyway, so he sees Bo Peep's lamp, Bo Peepless and Sheepless in a window, and takes the 1,000,000 to 1 odds that it's the exact same Bo Peep.
Yeah.
Because, like, this isn't, like, we don't know how long they're actually driving, but it's, like, a pretty good distance from wherever they were. But, that can't have been the only, like, Bo Peep lamp in existence. But, of course, because Movie's got a movie, it is her. So he and Forky go in to try and find her, and we get this movie's kind of toy antagonist, but not really. Which is the Abby, that's the name of the doll, and her terrifying as all hell, like
ventriloquism.
Yeah, ventriloquist doll army.
That looked like Slappy.
Yes, that looked like Slappy from Goosebumps. Thank you. And that's exactly what they look like, and they're terrifying. I don't know. I don't know if I'd rate them as more terrifying than the monkey from Toy Story 3. I know my younger brother Wyatt used to be terrified of that monkey. He hated it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of monkeys, but that thing was creepy.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Like,
plus, the ventriloquisms are way creepy, especially their mouths gaping open.
Yeah, and their heads that just rotate. They are plenty
their
creepy.
Body parts are just dragging.
Yeah, there's a few kind of good jump scares with them, honestly. So like Woody's like looking for a bow, and he like meets Abby, and it's like from the word go, like not only like the ventriloquist dummies kind of tip you off, but then also like she just like feels all kinds of off as she's talking to him, and we find out that she basically wants Woody's voice box, just like
because she doesn't have one.
Well, hers doesn't work. It was defective. That's why she's there.
And like no one will take her because of it.
Well, because it's a doll from like probably the 50s that doesn't even work properly.
That also doesn't help.
Yeah, and I actually found out something really interesting about, just this is kind of an aside, but I was watching an interview with Tom Hanks about wrapping up this movie. And he was talking about how those old toys actually work, because, the ones we grew up with, like, it's electronics. Like, you pull and it cycles, voice phrases every time. But how the old ones actually worked is there's actually, like, a disc in there. And the phrase would depend on how far back you pulled the cord. Because it would switch tracks on the disc. It was like a miniature record player. Which I thought was really cool, because, like, that makes a lot of sense. But anyway, so she wants that because there's a girl that's like the granddaughter of the gal that owns the antique store, and she wants to be her toy, basically. She wants to be played with because she's been sitting in an antique shop for God knows how long, which is understandable. But Woody is like, I kind of need this. It's like you meet someone's like, hi, can I have one of your kidneys?
Well, you can't have one, I'll die.
Yeah, you only have the one.
Can I have your liver?
I was like, let me touch your skin. Yeah. So and then it kind of she gets kind of hostile with her dummy army, and so Woody like basically bugs out of there, but Forky gets left behind because of course he does, because we need some reason for Woody to go back to that hell. So he escapes, and then I'm trying to remember, like at this point, like all the toys in the RV are like trying to figure out what's going on, and then Buzz goes after Woody.
Yeah.
While Woody is like trying to, Woody was like, I'm trying to remember. Like Woody was like he realized he left Forky behind, but he was trying to find the RV first or something like that. I'm trying to remember. Do you guys remember exactly? I'm kind of blanking.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh wait, that's right. That little girl found her.
That's right. The little girl finds Woody. That's what happens. That's right. And she takes her. She takes him like a playground, and yeah, and then he like runs away. Yeah, that's right. Because like he's running away, and then the girl finds him in the antique store and takes him with her, and they're like on the swings. And that's when he runs into Bo. Yeah. Who is of course here, and she's got like this bandage because I guess she broke her arm, but tape reattaches toy nerves, I guess.
Yep.
As long as it's still attaching. I mean, that makes sense, because when Woody's arm was half ripped off in Toy Story 2, he could still like move it, or could he? Actually, I don't remember. I don't think he moved
I think it wasn't until it was stitched that he could move it.
No.
Yeah. So whatever. Again, logic you can't really question if you want to just enjoy the movie. So he meets Bo, and they kind of like have a reunited moment. There's like this little like Polly in my pocket kind of police gal toy whose name I cannot hope to remember, because I did not care at all about her in this movie.
Yeah, me either.
But she's like a girl kind of character that's like Bo's sidekick essentially. And of course she still has her sheep and everything, who Woody could not remember the names of, and I love that so much because that was so funny. Because like they like suddenly have names, and it's just like, okay, cool, because I don't remember the names I said either.
Yeah.
So, and then there's like all this talk about how Bo's like new new philosophy. She doesn't need a kid. She just likes being a toy out in the open, like traveling, which is kind of interesting because we never really saw that mentality in any other toy in the series.
Yeah, she says she's like she like living the lifestyle of a lost toy.
Yeah, living life of a lost toy, because we had like Jesse and everyone else and like the prospector who's like, they were like, Jesse had been just like had her heart destroyed by Emily, so she was totally fine with going into storage and never being played with again because she didn't want to try and go through that. Yeah. And then we had like Woody kind of had like a similar deal for a while, thinking about just being around forever. And then we had like Lotso, who was also abandoned and was replaced. So
which just infuriated him.
Yeah, so as far as he was concerned, there was no reason to be with a kid because he kind of like hated the idea of being a kid's toy at that point, is why he like was running the daycare.
Yeah.
So this is like the first time we had like a toy that was lost, the one to stay lost, especially when you see like the distress Woody goes through in the first movie when he realizes he's a lost toy. Like the way he reacts is like, that is like the ultimate hell for a toy, is being a lost toy. And then we see Bo, who's just flourishing as one, which is, I have to admit, was really cool. I kind of like that concept, just like this thing that clearly most toys feared would ever happen to them, and she's just like, yeah, no, this is awesome. While we still see, throughout the movie, her reflecting on, what it was like to be a kid's toy. And it leads to some back and forth, which kind of leaves you wondering what's going to happen in the climax, who's going to go where. And I think that's what makes the climax payoff so good, is because you actually don't know for sure what's going to happen until it does.
Yeah.
Because there's like one of two clear paths set out, but you don't know which it is. And we'll get to that.
And one is presented as a lot more likely than the other.
Yeah, one seems more obvious based off of the idea of, of how the movie, like how the movies tend to go, Gotta keep pausing. Let me stop pausing, and I keep repeating myself.
Especially when Buzz dies at the end.
Oh yeah, that was so sad. Anyway, we'll get to that. So at this point, Buzz, speaking of Buzz, before he dies, he is out looking.
I just wanted you to keep rolling.
I love playing bullshit like that totally straight as long as possible, but no, I let's get that. So Buzz goes out to look for Woody, and earlier, like, Buzz and Woody were talking, and he's asking, like, why are you looking out for Forky so much? He's like, it's a conscience, it's that voice inside of me. And this is kind of another thing I want to talk about later with Buzz, where he like goes backwards. He's like, tiny voice, like, he's been a toy, like a real toy, not like a unaware toy, for at least a decade by now. But he like goes to like, oh, a conscience? What's that? And then we have the gag, which is admittedly funny, where he's like hitting his buttons to get like lines, and he's like following what they say. It's like Buzz, like Toy Story 2 Buzz would not do this, much less Toy Story 4 Buzz. But also Buzz just kind of an aside in this movie. But so he starts going out to look for Woody, gets caught, and then ends up on a prize rack with with Bunny and Ducky, who are like sewn together by the hands.
Yeah, Key and Peele.
Honestly, that was Key and Peele?
Yeah.
Oh my god, how did I not know that?
Jesus Christ.
I mean, that explains why they're like the best comedy relief in this movie. Like, after, because Act 1 is all Forky, but after that, like, Act 2 onwards, dude, Ducky and Bunny own this movie's comedic relief.
Yeah.
It is just, hands down, so funny. Like, flashing forward a bit, when we get, like, them imagining what to do to get the key, oh, I was laughing so hard every single time they had a new scenario. Shit's great. Yeah, so they're pretty funny. We get some good moments with them. Buzz eventually, like, busts them out as well as himself. And then they start going on a run because she's still looking for Woody. So Woody and Bo head back to the antique store because they need to get Forky, and Woody is still hell-bent on being able to help Forky and, well, Bonnie by extension. Because he's like, feels like he's not doing anything for Bonnie since he's not being played with. And they have this great bit where where she's jury rigged an RC car to look like a skunk. along with like a bunch of extra parts and stuff to like repair other toys and stuff. And that's so funny because that's so ingenious. I was thinking like that is just perfect. That's just the perfect way for a toy to move around unnoticed without breaking the rules. Like, that's great. Though, here's a question: why isn't the skunk sentient? That's a toy.
He is technically a toy.
RC is sentient, and they have put like a living-looking exoskeleton on this thing. So why is the skunk like not alive and just like, okay, hop inside, Bo, and he like opens up like. That just occurred to me. But yeah, if Forky's alive, then that skunk RC car should be alive because RC was alive.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So there's another thing I thought of that bothers me. So they go back to the antique store, and then Bo like takes him to this pinball table where we meet Duke Kaboom, and there's like all these other toys are just partying inside this thing, and that's when it becomes clear that something is kind of up, like with Abby, where she's not Lotso, where she's like in charge of this place, like as much as Lotso was, because they're like partying and like she would know full well they're all there. It's something else is off because it's not like Lotso where he had control over everything. So it's like maybe she's like not like straight up this our toy protagonist of this movie, and as we found out, she's really not, because we cut to her talking to Forky, and she's just saying how she really wants that voice box just so she can be with a kid again, which is like such a stark contrast to Pete and Lotso. It's like, okay, this is like not a villain. She is not a villain. She's just like, she's desperate, but she's misunderstood.
She's just super desperate to be with to belong to a kid.
Yeah, and then when they're trying to save Forky, and when they need to get the key to open up the chest to get to him, and they're like avoiding the ventriloquist dummies with their rotating heads. Like they start pulling some Metal Gear shit with like using a line and everything to get to it, with Duke Kaboom like launching off to try and get there.
Yeah.
And he has this moment where he freaks out because he's not good enough because he didn't work one time, so his kid never played with him again.
Damn.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, that's like, damn, that kid must be like rich, just like getting a mile a minute toys, just like, oh, well, this one doesn't work.
Like, imagine doing that with a video game. Like you put in a video game, and like say this is back in like the era of like the PS2 and like Xbox 360.
The good old
like you
days.
you put in the disc, and then you just get like the disc read error. So you just grab the disc, even though there's like a small smidget that's preventing the PS2 from reading the disc. You just grab the disc and chuck it at the wall.
No, and it seems like it wasn't even Duke's fault. Like it was probably the kid's fault. He didn't wind it up enough. So it's like you put the disc in upside down, it doesn't work, and then you break it in half because it didn't work. Stupid gang, to read how I tell you to read.
Read how I tell you to read. Oh shit! That's English. That's English class.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Anyway,
woke.
So they go in to get Forky, and then Bo starts like beating up this doll, which is so funny to me. And I think it's like right here where like it kind of comes across to Woody that Abby's not evil, and I don't remember why exactly he gets talked into handing over the voice box, but I don't
think I think it was because he just felt sorry for her.
Oh, you know what it was is like they actually failed to save Forky, and so they were leaving, and then they like ran.
Yeah, he exchanges it. He's like, "I'll give you my voice box, and you give me Forky."
No, that wasn't it. Like they hadn't succeeded. Like he still got left behind, or someone did. Was it the sheep? I think it was the sheep. No, because the voice box transfer doesn't happen. Like, so they leave, and then Woody just like, well, you wouldn't know because you're just a lost toy, and then he goes back like by himself. Like because they meet. Oh, that's right. They meet up with Buzz and Bunny and everyone on the roof. That's what it was. And they all go in and try and do this. And then, like, they fail, and someone gets left behind. And I think it was Forky. Like, I think they, like, didn't save Forky. Like, they got the sheep and left. And Bo didn't want to go back in because just, like, you can't save every toy, Woody. He's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, because this is all I have left. which is like this movie is basically about Woody and his new complex he has that I want to get into when we're done summarizing it. But so he goes back to get Forky, and at this point is when he like actually just talks to Abby, and he kind of like understands. So yeah, he gives her his voice box so that she can have her phrases. So we get this like major surgery done by a bunch of dummies. Haha. And so she has it, and then we see, I don't remember if everyone came back or not, but like we see her like set herself up to be found, and she gets found, and then she just gets dropped immediately. Like the girl doesn't even care. I think was heartbreaking.
It was the granddaughter of the.
Yeah, that's the same chick we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, her name was Harmony. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and she sets herself down on the ground, and the little girl comes over, and she like picks her up, and she's like, nah,
dude, that hurt.
That was a real like expectation subversion.
Yeah, I just felt so bad in that one moment. I was like, oh my god, like not what the hell.
Yep.
And honestly, it was either like she's just gonna be broken now, like emotionally, or now she's going to be evil.
Yeah,
I was honestly thinking, okay, now she's gonna turn into Lotso, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, she's gonna do like a full on Chucky, like if I can't have a kid, no one will.
It's just, dude, have there been toy serial killers? Is Chucky just like actually just Toy Story, but the toy just like to set rules?
There's been Master of Puppets. Movie series.
I don't know. I'm wondering if they're ever, considering these toys clearly have full range of emotion like a human does. There's got to be some toy somewhere that went rogue and just didn't care.
Oh, like in the Toy Story universe.
Yeah, I mean, we clearly see like when in the first one when Woody breaks the rules, as he says, when he starts talking to Sid, like nothing bad comes of it. He's like, we're gonna have to break a few rules, but if it works, it'll be worth it. But then he breaks the rules and nothing happens. Like, what are these rules? And clearly nothing goes wrong because there's no higher power that's like saying, you broke the rules, now you die.
Get smited. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of weird, just when you think about it.
Yeah, and you would
put
think
it on the list.
And you would think in a world with sentient toys, one of them would have, like you said, gone rogue and like murdered a kid.
Well, even like not murder, like because we saw Lotso, and Lotso was pretty messed up, but he like didn't go to like the point where he was breaking the rules in front of the kids. So there's got to be some reason they're not supposed to do that. It's just never, elaborated on. And then I don't know if we've ever gone so far as having a toy commit murder, because that's like really fucking dark. But just one that doesn't care about the rules at all and is running around in broad daylight. Not like Bo does, where she's like covert about it, but just walking around. What's stopping this whole situation from just collapsing into chaos? And all of a sudden we've got toys and people living together, mass hysteria.
Just like some toys just walking down the street, not really giving a shit. All the people looking down at them like, what in the...
Yeah, it's just like the scene from Madagascar, except it's a toy. Oh, you can tell from the way I use my Whack-A-Mole. It's been no time to talk.
Yeah,
I could see that. So that happens, and he's like, you know what? Just come with us. We've got a kid, and she's not gonna care whether you worked or not anyway. So Gabby's like going with them, leaving her army of ventriloquist dummies to, I guess, suffer in that
to die.
Yeah, that suffer in that antique store for the rest of their lives, quote unquote.
They're disposable.
Yeah, I half expected to see them like trailing on behind them. Anyway, they're moving on, and as they're going back to Bonnie, and at this point, like the toys that are still there have been like slowing them down by any means possible. Like Jesse just freaking cut one of the tires to stop them from leaving after Buzz left. Like that was pretty funny. I liked that. And then the unicorn character is always just like, let's get Dad in jail. The whole time. I feel like that is another actor I should know, but I can't remember. That's not. Damn it! Like that's not Seth MacFarlane, is it? Is it Seth MacFarlane? The unicorn?
What's the unicorn's name?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Hold up, let me check.
Yeah, I'm curious now because I feel like I know the actor and I feel like it's Seth MacFarlane.
I don't think Seth is. I don't think Seth is in this movie.
Well, it's someone who sounds like him then. I don't know why.
So
they had quite a few big names in this one.
What is the name?
I don't know. I'm looking behind the voice actors right now, so I'm going to see if I can find it.
Where do they meet the unicorn again?
It was a Toy Story 3. Oh, Jeff Garlin. Okay, I was totally wrong. I don't know why I thought Seth MacFarlane, but it's Jeff Garlin, whoever that is. It kind of sounds like him, I think, but... Oh, no, it's this guy. Oh, shit. I don't know what movies he's been in. What movies has he been in that I recognize him from? Oh, my God. I mean, he played the... Dude, I've seen this guy before. Like, the moment I see him, I'm like, I know this guy, but he hasn't done a lot of voice acting or acting at all. How do I know this dude?
Oh, shit. Yeah, he
plays some role that I know really
the
well.
Goldbergs.
That's where I've seen him, but I haven't watched the Goldbergs.
He's from the Goldbergs. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development. Shit.
Yeah, like he looks like I know I've seen him and stuff before, but I just can't remember off the top of my head like what movies.
He's in WALL-E apparently.
Yeah, he plays the captain in WALL-E.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at least we solved the question of where he's from.
Yeah.
Now I'm just trying to figure out where I've seen him because I know I've seen him in stuff before, but I can't remember what exactly I have seen him in. He just looks really, really familiar. Anyway, moving off the tangents. But important thing is, it's not Seth MacFarlane, and at least I have this question answered. I just recognize his voice, or it sounds similar to his voice. So they're doing all manners of stuff, and then by now, when they're trying to get back, they're like actively messing with the parents. Like, so Trixie, the Triceratops, who is voiced by the gal that does the voice of Mabel from Gravity Falls. She is like pretending to be the GPS and making them turn back into the town. And then it ends with them like actively messing with the brake and the brake and the gas pedals. So it's just, and then he gets pulled over, and it's so funny. I really like that whole bit where they're messing with the
GPS,
and he gets pulled. Not only the GPS, when they get pulled over, because they start making the thing go and they stop and go. That was great. And then while they're on their way back, they find this girl who's like clearly lost and is crying and stuff. And then Abby kind of sees this as her second chance, so she just goes for it, and it works. And that was such a nice moment. I loved it. I was like,
I was really fearing another like nah.
Dude, that'd have been so messed up. I would have been upset if that had happened again.
If I was Gabby when that happened, I would have just been like, all right, give me something sharp. I'm slitting my fucking throat.
Just like, there's an incinerator anywhere.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's bad.
She just sees a phone, starts dialing, and just like gets Laszlo.
Gets what?
Laszlo makes a return.
Lotso.
Yeah, Lotso.
I was like,
Lotso makes a return.
I was like, Camp Laszlo? What?
No. Lotso, like, he makes a return, and he's like all murderous.
No, he is stuck on a damn truck grill. He is not coming back, man.
You never know.
Yeah, well, I mean, both can come back. So they continue on one at Abbey Short, and they make it they make it back to where the RV is, because they pulled up next to the merry-go-round, and of course they're talking to the cops now.
Yeah.
And they extend the awning out so they can like escape onto it. And this is the point where like the big climax happens, and it's the big part that a lot of people either love or have a lot of problems with. And like I said earlier, it's not that the climax is done poorly. Like, it pays off really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's very well done. My problem is what happens in it. It's honestly kind of like the ending of Death Note for me. Like, oh yeah, it was well done. I just hated the I hated the outcome. So everyone's leaving, and of course, Bo has like never planned on going with them to be Bonnie's toy, and we have this moment where Woody's like looking back at her and then looking to Buzz, and Buzz is just like, she'll be okay, and then Woody kind of looks at him. He's like, Bonnie will be okay. We'll be okay. And you get this moment where you're just like, no. Like, if I hadn't been in a theater full of children, I would have started screaming, no, don't you fucking dare! But no, he dares to just ruin my childhood, and he turns around and goes back to Bo, and like he gives Jesse his sheriff's badge, which is another. I really love that moment too. Mm-hmm. Just like, okay, that's cool. I like that. And,
Passing up the torch.
And then I immediately went to, I hate this. No, fuck this. Stop. Go back. Take her with you. Take her arm if you have to make her follow you. Just, no. So he goes with Bo, and then they drive off, and you get this disconnected to infinity and beyond between Woody and Buzz. And at this point, I was starting to cry. Mm-hmm. Like, not end game crying, but I was starting to. I never went full. I never like started fully crying, but I was getting there. I was like, this movie better end soon, or I am gonna be a mess. And the movie pretty much ends there, and we get a bunch of like mid-credit scenes of Bo, Woody, Duke, Bunny, and Ducky all like helping other lost toys as they're like traveling around with this fair, which is also cool. I do like this as well. We get another moment of Ducky and Bunny like planning something, and we see it happen, but it didn't actually happen.
And then there's the mid-credit scene of like
Bonnie's first day of first grade, where she makes another.
Yeah, she makes the plastic knife.
She makes Femme Forky. Knifey? I don't remember. But yeah. And then it finally, the movie has the gall to ask the question it knows it can't answer. Why are we alive? I don't know. That was really funny.
You ever wonder why we're here?
That had me laughing. Quite a bit. And that's pretty much where it ends. And as far as we know, this is the end of Toy Story movies, like, as a whole. And honestly, they have to stop now, because you can't split up Woody and Buzz and expect to make another Toy Story movie and have everyone be on board for it.
Yeah. And you can't make one where they're like the at the end of the movie they're reunited and they're together again.
Yeah, because that would totally kill the payoff of this movie. As much as I hate it, it's like it would totally kill the payoff of this movie.
Like, you can't separate two long-lost friends and make it seem like that's the end, like that's the end of their journey. They're never seeing each other again, and then in the next movie, you reunite them, and they're back together as best buds again.
Well, see, what's funny is that's kind of what happened in this movie between Woody and Bo, except it set it up at the beginning of the film rather than it being building off the ending of another one. We just kind of knew Bo wasn't around because she was name dropped in 3, but we never saw her.
Yeah.
I do like that we finally got to see that scene, though, because I was always curious, like, that must have been serious. Like, that scene of Bo leaving, like, there's no way Woody took that laying down. So, and that scene hits really, really hard, too.
Yeah.
Because you figure that's got to be after Toy Story 2.
Yeah, because it happens between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
And, like, those events. And at the beginning of Toy Story, or, like, throughout Toy Story 3, you're wondering, like, all right, where the fuck's Bo?
Yeah, in the beginning, and then they mention like a lot of the ones that they've lost over the years, which also, makes sense. Yeah. So now that we've gone through the plot, let's start the breakdown of a lot of stuff. So I'll just start with the good, because there's plenty to love. Like, this movie is really, really good, as from a film standpoint. It's got some solid acts. The characters are all like not with the previous 3 movies notwithstanding as far as development goes, the characters are pretty good. The new ones are entertaining. The old ones have a good twist or good development for the most part. And there's some of them I don't like, but it still works in the sense of this one film. It works just fine. As far as telling a story and giving some conclusions to, well, really, honestly, I feel like the only conclusions this movie has is to the plot, like the character threads that it opens itself. Just because we all agree that 3 is where they should have stopped because that ending was perfect. It solved everything.
3 was the end of an arc built throughout the 3 movies. 4 was the end of an arc built throughout just one movie.
Yeah, this is essentially like DLC. Like, tacked on, wasn't necessary, but they wanted money.
Yeah.
But it solves everything that it introduced in and of itself. It's just, what it introduced, I have gripes with. The humor was all spot on. Like I said, they reused the Forky joke for a lot of the first act, but they keep doing it in different ways that it's funny to see every time, because it's mostly just slapstick, essentially, of him finding new ways to struggle away from Bonnie and just drop himself in the garbage.
Yeah.
And then things don't get, like, really...
It was starting to get kind of, like, weird as to how many suicide jokes they can cram in there.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, obviously, that wasn't what they were going for. Because it's suicide in a joking attempt, obviously. But just because of what it means as far as in-universe.
Yeah.
The settings were good. I mean, the animation, if you didn't like this animation, you're blind. There's no way you could watch this and say, that wasn't too great. I could have done a better job with the animation. Like the animation's great. The detail on the character models is insane. You've got the shine on Bo because she's plaster, which they kind of did in Toy Story 1 and 2, but you couldn't see it nearly as well. But this one, it's really defined. Same with all of them. They look like toys more than ever before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Pixar. And
the humans truly look like humans now. Like they did in Toy Story 3. They were a lot better in Toy Story 2. So it's just, overall, we've got all the animation and stuff that Pixar has learned since, Toy Story 3 came out. So there's lots of great parts as far as that's concerned. So I want to kind of talk. Was there anything else you guys really liked about the movie before I kind of start talking about, or start bitching about what I didn't like about it?
Stuff we liked. I mean,
anything that stood out to you that we haven't talked about already that you really really enjoyed about the movie?
Not anything new. No.
Ada?
Personally, I think it was really good. I like the animation, the characters, and on the idea of what it's like to be a lost toy, and understand more stuff about.
Yeah, so more or less what we talked about already.
Yeah.
So okay, so let me start with my gripes. The first, like, kind of smaller one is that Buzz is such an aside in this film. Like, it feels like Buzz is only here because it's Toy Story. Because this is Woody's movie, essentially. I mean, honestly, kind of all the Toy Stories are Woody's movie. Like, the first 2, definitely, although Buzz has a lot more to do in the second one, as far as, like, how he's grown as a character. And 3 also because he's kind of taken over as the leader of the toys, but when they end up in the daycare. So Toy Story 3 is probably the least Woody's movie out of all of them, but this one is like just through and through. Clearly, it was it's Woody the entire time, and it just feels like a lot of other stuff is kind of shoehorned in there because it has to be. But Buzz especially.
Buzz is really sidelined.
And we already kind of talked about this, but how it feels like his character development goes backwards because he starts, instead of knowing what a conscience is, like he should, because clearly toy minds work the same as humans as far as emotional range and that kind of thing. Like, and he starts doing the whole hitting the buttons to get the inner voice gag, which is funny, but it doesn't make a lot of sense considering Buzz should know full well what a conscience means by now.
Yeah, since he kind of developed one in the first movie.
Yeah, and shows the most, like, in the second and third. Like, when he goes after a Woody by himself, like, no one tells him to do that. He just knows he has to. Or when he's, like, when he goes to Lotso in the third movie, and he's just like, all right, I'll go and get my friends. And then he's like, "Oh, sorry, I can't go anywhere without my friends." Like, you don't say that unless you have a conscience. Otherwise, you're like, "Yeah, fuck them. I want to be a butterfly."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Even if you're thinking about like him misinterpreting Woody's words of not understanding what a conscience is, like he should still know. Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't need like a definition for him. He should be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And just him like showing up is just kind of he's there for to spur the comedic relief on for a lot of it, and then he's also there for the ending to be absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the most that Buzz brings to this, is making the ending all the harder to take. Yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of that, because like Woody and Buzz's dynamic is what makes, especially the first two, but also the third movie, really, really good. Because you get the first movie where they're bouncing off each other because Woody's a toy, he's been a toy forever, and he's the leader. And now this new guy comes in who doesn't even know he's a toy, and it's driving Woody nuts, because not only is it messing with his hierarchy, but also just he's jealous of Buzz. And then, by the end, with Buzz coming to accept that he is a toy, but then also Woody, like, they accept each other and they're friends. And the second movie is Woody going the opposite direction, where it's like he feels detached from being a toy and rather just be a collector's item. And Buzz is now, no, you are a toy. Like, that is their thing. He goes after them because of this whole dynamic they have. And then the third one, it's all about, like, Woody sticking that, like, Andy wanted to keep us, and Buzz just like, we were thrown away, It's time for us, like, we can make a new life for ourselves in the daycare, and it's all about their ideals bouncing off each other that kind of helped propel that movie a bit as well. And then this one, it's just like, Buzz just like, Woody, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Buzz. Okay. And then you get the ending. They don't have a lot of anything going on here until the very end.
Yeah.
It's just them talking for a little bit, just like, it's okay, you'll get played with eventually, Woody. And then he's looking for Woody, and then we get the ending. So yeah, Buzz not capitalized on this movie, like, really at all. I wasn't expecting, everyone to get a lot of screen time, especially like all the Bonnie's new toys, because I don't exactly care about all of them. I'm mostly concerned with the Andy's cast, Andy's toys.
Yeah.
But we see, I think we get enough of Jesse that I'm okay with it, and we see snippets of Rex and Ham, and they were never the biggest deal. It was more that they were there and they still had parts to play. But that's another thing, is that outside of Woody and Bo and Forky, none of the other cast really plays a big role in this film, like, at all.
Yeah.
Except that they're the toys and they have to be here because it's a Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we get the few new characters, and I'm fine with the new characters for the most part. One thing I don't like about this movie is there's no antagonist here. Like, the only antagonist
that's another thing I realized. There's no antagonist.
Yeah, the only antagonist here is Woody's own character arc, because Abby, it's pretty clear that she's not the bad guy, and that's made kind of clear like halfway through the film, and she's only there like from Act 2 on. So like before we're even in Act 3, like we kind of know she's not the villain, and I think like what made 2 really, really good is you had both a human and a toy villain. Like, so Al just wants to make money, and he, like, stole Woody.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pete, who was so jaded because he was never played with or even bought, that he doesn't care. He doesn't want to be played with. He just wants to have some kind of relevance. It's like,
all three of the Toy Stories have had like interesting villains. Like number 1, it was
Sid.
It was Sid. Number 2, it was Pete.
So
and
he just makes toys into monstrosities and just blows them up.
Yeah,
and then 3 was Lotso. It's like all of them were like really interesting villains, and they were actually villains.
And you love to see them get their comeuppance. Like with Sid is just great because you get the whole "so play nice" moment. But he is such he's a good antagonist because because everyone knew that kid growing up, that one who didn't care about his stuff, who was just a jerk and just wanted to mess with his stuff. and didn't break it and everything. So you can kind of like relate to it and imagine, wow, that kid would be awful if you were a toy. And then 2, you get the two-pronged assault of Al and Pete, who both want the same outcome of everyone to go to the museum, but for different reasons. And you get the since you have the dynamic of a toy villain, you get a whole different set of motivation than the human villain Al has, which is really, really cool. And then in 3, you get Lotso, who is kind of like Pete, but in a different aspect, because he was played with, knew what it was like to be played with, and in the moment he was lost, he was just replaced. And he couldn't stand that. And so we get another really interesting villain, and I think he's a more interesting toy villain than Pete was, but because we had the two-pronged assault in Toy Story 2, I like that one.
And plus he was very close to succeeding.
Yeah, like he almost murdered all of them. Like that's no small feat.
Mm-hmm. I think the only like villain in this movie, if there could be one, is Time.
I'm still saying Woody's own character arc is the only villain of this movie, and that just bothers me. There's nothing they're working against. It's mostly Woody working against himself. Like there's like there's like the race against time to try and, like you said, to try and get back to the RV. And that's like kind of like the driving force here. It's just like they're trying to get Woody's trying to keep Forky, like, you know, involved with the toys, and and then they're trying to get back to the RV. But even that isn't like introduced until them trying to get back isn't until the second act. Like the Forky thing is the entire time, but I wouldn't really call that an antagonistic force. And then I don't know. It's just, I don't find it as compelling as Toy Story 1, where you had, like, Toy Story 2, like, basically had its antagonist in the first act, and their antagonist was there throughout. While Toy Story 1, it was more of, like, you're compelled by the world that you're being sucked into, and also, now you've got Buzz, you've got the dynamic of, new toy doesn't know he's a toy, versus toy who's always been in charge, knows he's a toy, and the other toy won't listen to him. And then you kind of build up to, okay, now they're stuck in Sid's house. And then you've got this antagonist like, okay, now he's trying to blow them up. And and Buzz, like, learns his story. There's a lot going on in Toy Story 1 that's fun to watch if for the first time, because you're learning about this world. And it's fun on repeat viewings because it's still fun to see, like, these characters and how they interact. And then, you know, 3, it's just them dealing with their own mortality, kind of their shelf life, essentially.
Yeah.
And kind of like what Pete went through. And then, you know, then
like, eventually you're not going to be played with.
Yeah, and from the get-go, like, you've got the force of, okay, they're not being sent to the daycare, so we're getting a completely different setting. Before we even know Lotso's a villain, we get this big setup where there's this huge this huge paradigm shift for all the toys, where they're now in a completely different environment, and they're thinking, all right, there's so many kids we're always going to get played with, and then it turns out to be like, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
When they get assaulted by a bunch of toddlers. Which is, I hope that, how many kids actually play with toys like that, because that makes me disturbed, because I don't think I ever played with my toys like that. Like, I was rough with my toys when I was little, but I wasn't, like, trying to eat them after I was 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't
plus
sustenance.
That scene was just a nightmare.
Yeah,
dude,
like,
it's uncomfortable.
Well, like, when I played with my toys, when I was a kid, like, yeah, I would, like, throw them around and shit, but
and, like, smash them into each other, yeah.
Yeah, but I would do it because that's, like, they were toys that, like, were meant for that. Like, if you had action figures, you would bump them up against each other and send them flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they were action figures. I wouldn't get a fucking, like sheriff, like a little, like a toy sheriff like Woody, and fucking chuck him across the room like if he was Buzz.
Dude, I had a bunch of... Okay, here's another cool aside. So I was watching a video today on a bunch of different Buzz Lightyear variations that have been released over the years as toys. I had this Buzz Lightyear that had, like, a jetpack with a giant missile that went on it. It was, like, blue colored, and it had, like, the anti-gravity belt, because it was from Toy Story 2. I found out today that Buzz, if it was still in good condition, could sell for, like, $180.
Jesus.
I was like, no freaking way. I used to play with that thing all the day. Like, even if I still had it, it might be somewhere at my dad's house. It won't be worth shit because it's missing the jetpack and a bunch of other stuff. Oh, you know what? No, I actually sold it. I sold it ages ago at a yard sale. Now that I think about it. Kind of ironic.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the only Toy Story toys I had.
Oh, you used to have a Toy Story Buzz Lightyear thing, too.
Yeah. It was the only toys I had were Buzz and the dinosaur. Those were the only ones I had.
Yeah, I always wanted the basic Buzz Lightyear, but I got that blue one for Christmas when I was like 4 or something like that, 3 or 4. And I was like, oh, it's still cool. It was really like dark blue. It was a really cool color. But I eventually sold it when I was like a teenager. But then I eventually got my hands on like the original style Buzz, with like the flip out wings and everything. And I also had this Woody, but it wasn't like the original one. It was like a military version of Woody, where it had all these different like military phrases, like we've got trouble. What news, Potato Head? We've got trouble. Red alert! And so it wasn't like, there's a snake in my boot, Woody. And it had like different hats. I only ever had like the basic one, but there was like a World War II era helmet you could put on him and stuff. But those are the ones I had, and I also had a bunch of the action figures from the Buzz Lightyear animated series. I want to get my hands on some of those again because I loved playing with those when I was a kid. I used to redo the scenes from Toy Story 2 where the two Buzzes were talking to each other. It's like, I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm Buzz Lightyear. Who's the real Buzz? I am.
Also, I feel like I may not remember this, but I feel like at one point in my childhood, I had like a Forky.
I never made my own toy, at least not that I can think of, unless you count Legos, and I don't. That's kind of their point. Yeah. Another thing I just remembered, they had McDonald's toys. This is like when I was 3, but they had McDonald's toys for the Buzz Lightyear Star Command series. Way back in the day. And my dad one day came home from work and he had actually bought me all of them. And what happened is they're actually like little spinner tops. So you would stick them in this part of a spaceship, twist it, and you'd hit a button and they'd fall down and spin. But if you got all of them, you could make the giant spaceship that they always fly around in the show. So I had all that, and then the bridge piece was actually a little launcher where you could launch XR, the little robot. And dude, I remember I was so crazy excited for those. And I think I might still have some of those pieces sitting around my dad's house somewhere. But I remember I had an action figure for Booster, the big red guy, and I took 2 of the rocket pieces and like taped them to his back to simulate his giant jetpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that series.
I feel old because I feel like our generation, not the millennials, but the Xers, us.
Aren't we Gen Z?
What?
Okay, hang on. I had a discussion at work the other day with one of my customers about
I'm not sure if we're Xers or Zs. I know for sure we're not millennials.
I thought millennial and Gen Y. Yeah, Gen X is the baby boomers, 1960s to 70s. Or no, after that, the baby boomers, 1960s to 70s. Generation, what's your U? Because I feel like Generation Y and millennials are the same thing. Let me look. Okay, Lost Generation from 1890 1915. Interbellum 1901 1913. Greatest 10 to 24. Silent 25 to 20. Okay, Baby Boomer 46 to 64. Generation X is 65 79.
Oh no.
Zennials is 75 to 85. The Millennials and Gen Y, Gen Next, 1980 to 1994. So yeah, we're Gen Z. Because Gen Z is 1995 to 2012, and anyone born after 2013 is Gen Alpha. What the hell? That is so cool! Why can't we be Gen Alpha? Oh well. We're Gen Z. We're Gen Dragon Ball Z. That's what I'm gonna live by.
That, honestly, yeah.
Gen DBZ.
But, like, our generation...
Or the iGen. iPhones weren't a thing in 95, you pricks.
No. iPhones they're also shit. So
if you're kiss my ass.
They're terrible phones. They are worthless pieces of garbage, and you know it.
No, as I scroll through my iPhone right now, no.
Androids are so much better.
Honest, I will be honest, I was thinking of switching to an Android, but all my shit's on the Apple store. So if I switch to Android, I would lose almost all of, all the music I ever bought. So I'd still have plenty of music, but There's a lot of shit that I have from the App Store specifically that I would lose.
No, you can download it on your phone too. On your Android.
I have to re-buy it. That's the thing.
You can
No,
extract
because it's in your account.
stuff from the iPhone to the Android.
For the Apple Store, is that how it works?
If you download iTunes on your phone, yeah.
No, I mean like apps and games and stuff that I have.
Well, apps you're gonna have to reinstall.
Yes, but I'm saying so like the things I've bought for them, you know, like if I bought an expansion for something, like Plague Inc. And also, I'd be going across device lines to transfer my data for Dokkan Battle and Brave Souls, which would be a pain in the ass. Anyway, this is not a talk about freaking iPhones.
Androids don't matter.
I don't give a shit.
Or gacha games.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So yeah,
only true Chads use Windows phones.
Okay, so before we went off on that, you were saying something about our generation.
Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, like our generation worked like by our generation, I mean like late like early 90s, late 90s, pretty much 90s. 90s kids
onward is us.
Yeah, 90s kids. We're like the last ones that actually.
Okay, I'm gonna interject right now because I will argue that unless you were born in the late 80s to early 90s, you're not a 90s kid. Because 90s kid involves taking part in all the 90s culture, and the only things we really took part in because we were like 2 by the turn of the millennium, like most of that we took part in after the fact. So I wouldn't really call us 90s kids because 90s kids would be like collecting Pogs and playing Super Nintendo at the time of it being a thing. Like my uncle, he's a 90s kid because he was 12 when I was born in 98. So he grew up around all that shit. But we grew up with it like after the fact, and there was new stuff going on.
I think the only 90s thing that we like me and you and other other people our age took part in is the War on Terror. I feel like that's the only 90s thing we've partaken in, and it's the War on Terror.
God. Okay, no. The War on Terror wasn't real. Okay, no, the War on Terror's been going for long, but the one that we're used to post 9/11 was like post 9/11, so that's the one I think about when you say War on Terror. But yeah, technically speaking, yeah, we were going against Saddam Hussein long before we were born.
Yeah, but like,
you make it sound like we fought though.
Oh no, we would not last.
Okay, but we're like only what 3 years old enough to go into the military anyway. Mm-hmm. This isn't World War II where we're trying to sneak across at 15, you know. They actually fought for a real reason. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, War on Terror is okay. We're getting off track again, but just.
We're talking about War on a Toy Story.
War on Terror is still is a completely different topic, but it's still parts of it are still important while other parts of it are inane. But that's true for anything.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, continuing on, like we were like the last to really like play with toys, like with actual physical Jesus Christ, what the fuck?
Adam, don't breathe straight in your mic, dude.
But like with actual like physical toys, like with action figures and like Bionicles back when that shit was a thing.
I still all mine in my closet right now.
And like Legos and shit like that. We were like the last ones to do that because nowadays kids these days with their Switches and their fucking other shit.
Other shit. Like yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Just
kids these days, man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people still buy and play with toys, just not as much as like we did. Cause like, especially in my house, like when I was growing up, like when I got my Game Boy when I was when I got my Game Boy when I was like 6, like I didn't get to. The rule was pretty much I got to play it for like an hour a day, like until I was 13. Like you could only play video games for like an hour a day. You could get it longer if it was like a weekend and you'd done yard work, or if you were playing Wii Sports or something. But yeah, my parents, well, my mom.
If you did good with your homework, if you got a good grade on something, then maybe they'd extend it to like 2.
Yeah, or if you got that cool babysitter and you just played Spyro for literally 4 hours straight, and mom was all horrified when she came home and found out. But
I never had a babysitter.
Yeah, I didn't very often. But yeah, so my parents were hella strict about that growing up. And then as I got older, I kind of got more access to that. And now it's a majority of what I do if I'm not working
Or if they
school.
forgot to take it during the day, so you sneak it into your room,
Yes!
and you had that little light that you could put on that would light up the screen in case you didn't have one of the Game Boys that lit up like with a backlit screen.
Yeah, we
You
still
just
got to take place in part of the '90s
like with the
kid
DS.
traditions. Well, DS was backlit.
Yeah, but I'm talking like with the Game Boy. If you had a DS, then you were like
You were set. I didn't get a DS until I was 12.
I remember when I first got
or
my
11.
DS, I bought it with the Super Mario 64 DS.
See, when I got mine, my brother and I got ours at the same year. Yeah, it was when I was 11. So it was just after we had come back from Georgia, and or was I 10? Oh crap! No. Yeah, I was 11 because the year we came back, I was 10. That's when we got the Wii, and it was the following year Wyatt and I got our DSs. But they bought them from my parents bought them from GameStop, not sponsored. I just worked there. I need to make that my hashtag not sponsored. I just work there. I got Drawn to Life and Pokemon Blue Rescue Team with mine, and he got Wario. What he got Wario? What's funny?
He got a Wario game.
No. It's Wario Master Disguise. It's actually one of my favorite games in the system.
Oh, okay.
I love that game.
That one's passing.
That game's kick ass. Yeah, that one's really, really good. And I forgot the other game he got, but dude, I fucking love Drawn to Life. I still do. It's one of my favorites. I want to do a review on it, but I can't screen cap my DS because trying to capture a DS's screen, you're either putting a camera in front of it like it's the 2000s and you're trying to record gameplay for YouTube, or
it's an emulator.
Or you need to get a custom modded DS that can plug a capture card into.
Or emulator.
Or an emulator, that's true. But with a game like Drawn to Life where you're drawing a lot of stuff, emulator's not going to be as good when you're using a mouse and keyboard. I'd have to get like a drawing tablet like Rimal's got to do that.
You can borrow hers.
Maybe, but I'm not going to do that to play a DS game on. I can play it on my I have it on my DS. I don't need to do a review for it as much as I want to. But I understand what you're saying, how nowadays kids definitely play it as much. Like Lego still sells a lot. My brother still, plays with Legos.
Yeah, like the big Lego sets.
Yeah, but like just back like nowadays parents are a lot more lax with electronics. Like even my mom is with my siblings now. Like they are on like my little sister has it fucking made. Like she is on the Wii U so much. Like when I was her age, I already said I had an hour a day for like anything. I got to play the PS2 once a month if I was lucky because I was dad's. The only thing I got to play regularly was my Game Boy. And then as when we moved to Georgia and they found like the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, I got to play that. On occasion. I had like my plug and play for my Sonic games. And then, then we got the Wii and we had our DSs. And things kind of got a little lax when we got our Wii and the DSs because that was a little more harder to regulate. At least the DSs were.
Like the first game console I ever had was a Game Boy Color. And with that, like that was like very restrictive, like how much time I could use on it. Mm-hmm. And then I remember we then got a Game Boy SP. Mm-hmm. I went straight from the Color to the SP.
Oh man!
And then I went down to the Advanced, and then the DS. And then after we got our DS, that's when we first got our PS1, our PlayStation 1.
Wow!
And then we then got a Super Nintendo, and then a Nintendo 64, and then we got our PlayStation 2. And that's where it went wild.
Well, you guys are
all... PlayStation 2.
What year was that when you got the PlayStation 2?
With the PlayStation 2? Fuck, like 08?
Okay, yeah, you guys are all over the damn place. Because, see, my dad had a PS2, like, when it came out. And that's the one I actually still have to this day in my cabinet that I play Persona 3 on. Mm-hmm. Or anything else, like True Story. I actually still have a bunch of the old games that they work for some reason.
I don't think we got the PS2 until like after the PS3 came out.
Well, PS3 came out in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
It always shocked me to think about the 360 came out in 2005. The PS3 was 06. And that was like the same year as the Wii, I believe.
And then with the PS2, that's where it went fucking wild, because that's where we started playing like the more popular games. Like I remember playing Tony Hawk.
Oh, dude, Tony Hawk Pro Skater
Skater
3 is my shit. I love Pro
Skater
game.
3 and Pro Skater 4, Underground. That's where I first started playing Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PS2. And then I didn't get a computer until like 2009, and then I didn't get internet until like 2013.
Wow, that's yikes. Yeah, right.
And I didn't get this baby here, my pride and joy, my reason for fucking living, this monument to beauty that is my gaming PC, and for like 2015.
Yeah. Well, at the risk of spending another hour on my history of tech, like my family kind of like always had a computer from my memory. It was a it ran Windows 98. I have no idea what it actually was, but yeah, it was Windows 98, and then like we had the PS2 was the big one we had growing up because my dad bought it. We actually have video because this was like before I can remember because I was like 2, but of my dad talking about how he bought it. And so I got to play that every now and again. That was like the only video game machine in the house. But the one I spent the most time on was my uncle's Sega Genesis whenever I went to my grandpa's house. And I would like spend a lot of time with my uncle and be playing the Genesis in his room. And I played his PlayStation as well because he had the OG PlayStation. And I don't remember it as much because I played it. There's pictures of me playing it, but I was probably 2, so I don't remember it. And then, yeah, I remember the Genesis, but my uncle usually had his PlayStation like boxed up.
Did you ever have the DualShock 1 controllers for the PlayStation 1?
That's all I ever remember playing with, because whenever we went out to my aunt's house in Milpitas, which is in the Bay Area next to San Jose, they had a PlayStation. That's where I'd play Spyro. And that's why I loved going to their house, because I loved playing Spyro. Because my uncle had all the Spyro games, but like I said, I almost never played the PlayStation in my memory. So I didn't even know. I actually he gave me almost all his PlayStation games after I bought my own PlayStation, so I actually have all his Spyro games, much other shit. And I also now own that Genesis. Like pretty much any system that I played growing up that I have a lot of like memories with, I have somehow appropriated. Like, I got my uncle's Genesis. I got my dad's PS2. I got the family's old Wii. I kind of have my mom's Super Nintendo, though she could take that back from me at any time. It's kind of funny how I have all this shit.
And you didn't get a proper computer until, like, a year ago?
2 years ago is when I got this PC. No, I didn't have a good PC. But yeah, and then it was like, whenever it drifted, like, we found my dad's original Game Boy in the garage when I was helping him clean one day, so that's how I got that. Also, I got into Pokemon. He found a Game Boy Advance SP in the garage. Didn't know where the hell it came from, but it was busted. But it had the Pokemon trading card game in it.
I remember my dad chucked our Game Boy Advance into, like, a barren field one day because he got pissed at us.
That's what my grandma would do.
I was playing Pokemon Emerald. And I saw that my dad was mad, so instinctively I turned off the Game Boy and I took out Emerald.
Ooh.
And I put it in my pocket just as he came up to me, grabbed the Game Boy Advance and just chucked it.
Can you just hit me instead, Dad?
It's just like full blown like he just yeeted it. He just went yeet and just fucking chucked it, and I was just like, oh, so I was just left with a Game Boy with a
copy of
Pokemon Emerald cartridge in my hand, just like, I'm gonna hide this before he throws that too.
Yeah, that's see for me, because my mom was so afraid that if I had regular access to games, I would become addicted to them. Which I guess she was kind of right, but so it was always really trickle down for me. It was just like we found the Game Boy, and then after that, I eventually got my uncle's Game Boy Color. Like, they found that in the garage and gave it to me. And that's how I got, like, my copy of Pokemon Yellow and one of my original 3 copies of Silver. Like, I had Silver beforehand. That was the first game I ever Pokemon game I owned. I traded a fake Obelisk the Tormentor card for it when I was in Georgia. The dude offered me like 6 Game Boy Advance games and Silver and Pokemon Crystal, but I only had the original Game Boy at that point. So I was just like, I'll just take Pokemon Silver. I eventually got that card back too. I still have it. I traded back for it. I know it's fake, but it looks hella cool. But
Crystal was the first game I ever played.
Yeah, I mean, it was Sonic 3, at least from what I can remember. But and so then I came back, had the Game Boy Color, and then I eventually talked my mom into buying me a Game Boy Advance. And mind you, this was like 2008, I think, by this point. And I was like, Mom, can you please give me a Game Boy Advance? And she did, because I played it a lot at my friend's house, who was also named Joshua, in Georgia. And so I used to play his Game Boy Advance and his DS and stuff. And I always wanted to play some of the other advanced games he had, but I couldn't. So I eventually talked to him to that. I got that and Wario Land 2. And this is crazy thinking back on it. This blows my mind. But my dad, after I got my Game Boy Advance, I wanted to get a Game Boy Advance game. So my dad and I went down to, I think, Best Buy. And there were 2 games. There was Legend of Spyro the Eternal Night on Game Boy Advance and Pokemon Leaf Green on Game Boy Advance. And I picked the one you wouldn't expect. I went with Spyro. I have no idea why the past me did that. I mean, even if I had, I wouldn't have kept the box because I didn't keep boxes back then because I was an idiot. But
also, we got so off topic.
I know, but we're still talking about toys and toy culture, so we'll get back to Toy Story eventually. We're not at 2 hours yet. We'll get there. This is part of the fun with doing these is like we go on tangents and eventually we come back. But it ties in somehow. Yeah, and I eventually got Leaf Green like for free because a friend of mine just gave it to me, so I don't have any regrets. It's not like I had to pay out the nose to get a copy to complete my collection. But yeah, dude, I actually still love that Spyro game. It's hella good because I got the PS2 one from my parents for, is either my birthday or because we got good report cards or something, but I got Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels of the Roses and Legend of Spyro the Eternal Night. Or not the Eternal Night, A New Beginning. And that game is hella fun, and I always wanted to play the second one, but I couldn't go on the internet and buy it. We didn't really go to a GameStop ever. So it was just, whenever we were at like Walmart or Target or on the once in a blue moon we go to Toys R Us, it was like, what is there? So when I saw that, I was like, oh, cool, I love A New Beginning. I want to play this, even though I never actually beat A New Beginning until I was way older. But I love that game. It's side-scrolling, but it's really good looking. It's super fun to play. The music is still good. Yeah. I still enjoy it, long story short. Yeah, and then at that point, that was like the furthest we got, and then we came back, then we got the Wii, the DSs, and all that stuff, and then from there, it's all kind of, it's not as interesting, because it's mostly like, and then I bought that system, and then that one came out, and then I bought that system. It's more interesting when you're going over, like, how you managed to get shit when you were a kid. Like, the last interesting piece of tech I acquired, or the last piece of tech I acquired in an interesting way was my 3DS, because I might have told the story before, at least to you guys, but I had a friend of mine named Fabian, and he used to like come over and stay the night all the time, and we, like, the day he was going to come over and stay the night, we are going to play, like, the Wii and stuff, or I think he brought his Xbox, we are going to play Halo, even though Mom wasn't hot on that. I was at Target because I had some gift cards. So Mom like dropped me off at Target. I was walking around gonna buy some stuff, and they were switching out the you know how they have those big cardboard like standees to advertise games and stuff for like the 3DS they have at Target. So they were taking down the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon one and putting up this one for summer with a bunch of new 3DS games on it. And I was like, hey, what do you guys do with that? Because I just happened to be walking by, perfect timing. He's like, oh, we usually throw it away. And he's just like, do you want it? I was like, heck yeah, I'll go get a cart. So I take this giant fucking like cardboard standee, but it lit up. It had like light up ghosts. And I got the battery pack with like 8 D batteries in it. Or C batteries. It was ridiculous. And so I took it home with me that day. And I just had it sitting in the house.
I can only imagine what your mom was thinking. Like, what the fuck?
Hell is this? Honestly, that's the kind of thing my grandma would say more than my mom. But so I brought that home, and this is when I was living here at my grandma's house anyway. And my friend Fabian stays the night, and I was like, dude, look at this thing I got from Target today. It's so cool. And I was like 14 at this point, I think. And he's like, oh, it is cool. He's like, I'll trade you my 3DS for it. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I want it. I'll trade it for it. Which was perfect because that was the year Pokemon X and Y was coming out.
Oh.
And I was trying to figure out how am I going to save up $130 to buy a 3DS? Because, this was summer, so that came out in October. So I was like, hyped for it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. So that's how I got my 3DS. See, I straight up got a 3DS for free.
See, the thing is, like, the only piece of tech, or the first piece of tech I ever bought was this computer. Like, every other thing, every console, every handheld, that was my parents buying it, or, like, me getting it for, like, Christmas or something, like, birthday. But the first piece of, like, gaming tech I ever bought was this computer.
Yeah,
and it's been the best $1,300 I have ever spent.
Holy shit!
Okay, it didn't cost $1,300 when I bought it.
But you've added upgrades, so
yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, mine was like 800.
And
I
the
haven't
spider
changed
laid
it
eggs on my Titan, but that's a different story.
Did you say Spider-Man eggs in your Titan?
I said a spider laid eggs in my NVIDIA GTX Titan.
Oh my god, that's nightmare for you. Like,
Dude, I wanted to die. Not only because of the spider, because my $1,000 graphics card was not the home of spiders. and it didn't work.
It's like, alright, I'm gonna go get the blowtorch. Trying to resolder this bitch.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah, so... Anyway, we could talk... basically, we went off on long tangents because I like talking. Adam, did you want to talk about your history? I didn't want to overrule you or whatever.
I guess I can explain.
I mean, preferably not in like 3 hours, but I do want to wrap this up at some point.
Oh, at some point. Alright.
Yeah, but like I'm sure I've never really asked you about a lot of your consoles. I don't know how you got a lot of your shit. Like, I remember you got that N64 from like your dad's friend at work or whatever, but that's...
Yeah, he gave me it for free.
He gave you that thing for free?
You got an N64 for free?
With like 9 games with it? With like Mario 64 and Pokemon Stadium
Mario 64,
2?
Mario Kart, Star Fox, and Pokemon Stadium.
You son of a bitch.
Dude, Pokemon Stadium was I remember
No. You got
always
Pokemon
wanting
Stadium
that game.
2. You didn't have the first one. You got that one later, didn't you?
Well, I played the first one because my sister gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
And then I played the second one, which is a major good upgrade compared to the first one, because the first one was kind of confusing.
Yeah.
You know which one of the Pokemon
the second
Stadium
one
games?
got a lot better.
Like the Pokemon Stadium games always Pokemon Battle Revolution.
And and how I got my GameCube. It was for Christmas.
What year?
A long time ago. I think it was like around... What year did the GameCube came out?
2001.
Oh, it was like around there.
Oh, wow. That was...
Wow, so you got it like... you got it like new.
And then for... What was it? For my Wii, I got... Well, I wanted to buy it, since my brother had a Wii U.
Oh, okay.
And the Wii, and then I said, oh, that's really cool, I want one. And so I decided to just get it.
So you stole your brother's Wii?
No, I just actually got my dad actually took me to GameStop at one night to go and and then the day when it came out, the day after it came out, he decided to go to GameStop at nighttime again and get...
Dude,
that was 2006. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I didn't get my Wii until like 2 years later.
The Wii was like $500.
And then, of course, I got a discount that I can
expensive.
pick any game. And of course, I got a discount that I can pick any Wii game I want.
Wow, which one did you go for?
So, I wasn't, and once again, it was a long time ago. I picked Paper Mario, Super Paper Mario because I played the Paper Mario games because I love the art, the style of it.
You're introing that like someone who was like about to explain how they said something really racist. Like, it was a long time ago. I was young.
It was a different time.
Might have said the N-word at some point. That's just what I was. I was getting that vibe from your intro. It's like, wow, you're really over explaining buying Super Paper Mario.
See, I have a really interesting story.
Here's the thing.
Why don't you shut up?
Here's the point. I actually chose Super Paper Mario over Brawl.
You are an idiot.
You need to leave.
I was young. Jesus.
I was young and stupid.
Yeah, what do you expect?
I didn't mean to offend
that likes the Paper Mario series. Jesus.
Okay. I can't really blame you, Adam, because I have a very interesting story of how I got my my PlayStation or my Wii. Because
and I already explained how I picked Spyro over Pokemon, so now we're all guilty of dumb game decisions.
When I first got my Wii, my parents gave it to us for Christmas. But the thing was, my parents were like, "All right, we're gonna get you a game console, so you can choose from one of two things: the PlayStation 3 or the Wii."
Got more tickets.
Oh, you made the right choice on that one. The Wii, I would take the Wii over the PlayStation any day.
You see, we wanted a PlayStation 3 more.
Oh,
but my mom didn't know what it was called, so she just knew the Wii because it's a 3-letter word, and
it's not even in English.
Yeah, so she knew how to pronounce that. So she's like the Wii, and she's like, in this other one, I don't know what it's. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's like a 3, and me and my brother were like super little kids. We're like, all right, we didn't even know if she was looking at the PS3. For all we know, she was looking at the Xbox 360.
And of course,
nobody wants that.
And so we're like, we don't want an Xbox. Let's get the Wii instead. And she's like, and then eventually, like a commercial for the PS3 comes up, and she's like, yeah, that was the other console that I thought I was planning on getting you to. And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, PS3 was 06, and then Xbox was 05, and I think the Wii was 06 as well. Hang on. I always forget. This shit always comes out sooner than I remember it being out, because I didn't even know the DS was out in 2004. That always blows my mind. That the DS was 2004.
It was revolutionary.
Yeah, so was the Wii. Yeah, also 2006 holiday season. Oh, wow. So only the first model of the Wii was... Oh, no, that's just... Okay, no, never mind. I was like, wait, there was like PS3 where they had more than one versions? Yeah. I was thinking... I keep forgetting they made something called the Wii Mini that just played Wii games without, like, internet connectivity. And I've never seen one in real life, ever. I have only ever seen it on Nintendo's website. It actually looks really cool, but I've never seen one in the wild. It's crazy.
In the wild?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have GameCube backwards compatibility, so no one probably wanted it. Yeah, that's... Anyway, that's a big long tangent. The point is that it's true, is that a lot of kids nowadays are more on their tablets and whatnot. Like, you can walk into any restaurant with there's a family, and those kids are all on tablets, and it drives me nuts, because I am in the mind, like, you're out to dinner, you should be like talking with everybody, and I feel like a lot of
you shouldn't be using a device like a handheld device that's bigger than your fucking head.
Yeah, and my other thing is just I feel like a lot of parents taking the easy way out nowadays to keep their kids quiet. And
it's just give them a tablet or something.
Yeah, it's just, let them draw on the freaking mat or whatever. That's what I had to do. And I don't think it helps kids' mentality when they're used to, like, being able to be on a tablet all the time where information's hitting them a mile a minute. Now they gotta sit in class. Like, I'm not gonna start doing ADHD conspiracy theories, but all I'm gonna say is that it certainly can't help concentration.
Yeah.
When you're used to being able to, like, anytime you're bored, you just, like, turn on this magical screen and you're not bored anymore. Like, even I can feel the fallout of that now that I do it more often. Like, even in class or at work. Well, not at work so much anymore now that I work at a GameStop. But, you know, a GameStop where when it's slow, I'm either playing Magic the Gathering on the back counter or I'm actually plugging in a Super Nintendo Classic to our controller tester TV and playing Castlevania 4. It's not as much of a problem as it was when I was working at Orchard. You know, even I can still feel that kind of problem where it's just like, I want to do something right now. I'm just bored. But yeah, kids just don't play with toys as much anymore. And I feel like that could have been a really good issue to tackle in this movie rather than what they did do. Like, I'd be interested to see a movie where you're dealing with a world where toys aren't being played with as much anymore. Because, I mean, kids still play with toys, but there's just, you know, this larger number that would rather
what would a sentient Nintendo Switch act like?
My arms are falling off! Someone help me! Or like
starts Fortnite dancing.
Or it's like when it comes out of the dock, it's being like pulled out of its own skin.
Okay.
I'm naked!
Oh my god, that's gruesome.
Being a living Switch would probably... It's either an amalgamation of 4 different things, or it's a miserable fuck existence of having to be pulled apart all the time. Kind of like a Bionicle.
Oh god.
I would assume living Bionicles don't feel... Like, you know, toys, like, don't seem to... Like, okay, so toys feel pain... Like when Woody is getting the magnifying glass burn on him in the first one, but he doesn't feel pain when his own arm comes off.
Yeah.
Or when Buzz's arm pops out, like he's not like pained by that. So maybe like physical destruction doesn't actually harm them? Or maybe it was like psychological for Woody? I don't know. Yeah, because Buzz's arm keeps falling off and she doesn't give a shit. She's like, I got tape for that.
I imagine, like, if the Game Boys could do that, if they could feel, if they were sentient, like, in this universe. Like, I remember throwing my Game Boy across the fucking room whenever I couldn't catch a Pokemon.
See, I didn't do that, but I managed
if that thing had sentience, it would be so fucking pissed at me.
See, the funny thing is that I managed to break both my Game Boys just in different ways. Like, my original Game Boy, I don't know what happened to it. I have no idea where it is. I've looked all over creation. I actually bought another one from work because we got a really nice old Game Boy in. So I was like, screw it. It's like $20.
Yeah.
But my old one, I managed to knock off a nightstand. Or I don't remember if I did it or if Wyatt did it when he was, like, really little. And batteries wouldn't work anymore. It would only work if it was plugged in. So it essentially became a home console. Because I couldn't take it in the car because it wouldn't hold the charge off batteries. It could only be plugged in with an AV cable. And then my Game Boy Color, this is really stupid. I put it down on a chair and I picked up the chair because I was trying to move all my stuff and it slid off my mid section past me and fell on the floor and the speakers broke. So I could only play it with headphones on, because this was like before earbuds were really popular. But yeah, and then my DS, my brother just straight up broke because he knocked it off the table and broke the casing on it. So it like the hinge doesn't work anymore, and now like the cables are fucked.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene in Halo 2 when the Pelican drops the Scorpion.
When Master Chief dropped his Game Boy when he was fighting Covenant. And he got all sad because his Pokemon copy got broken. Like you're with Sergeant Johnson and the Pelican drops off the Scorpion tank on Earth, and Sergeant Johnson's like, "Man, you kids with your fancy Scorpion tanks and Pelicans. When I was in the army, we had this rock and 2 sticks, and we shared the rock." Let's go back to Toy Story because we've been on a tangent for I know how fucking long.
Yeah, we were just I don't know what we're talking about now.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember where the hell we left off. I'm gonna go back in time with my stream and find out what we were talking about.
I think we were complaining about the movie, I think.
Well, you know, I know we were complaining, but I'm trying to remember what specific. Oh, whatever.
Okay.
We were talking about how there was like no villain, and we somehow spiraled into this.
Yeah.
But
no villain at all.
Yeah, we were talking about lots of abandonment issues, and that's when we went to talking about kids not playing with toys. And then we started going into because video games. And then we went to our storied histories of gaming. Okay, so my big problem with this movie is Woody's whole freaking character in it. Like, it's not. I don't want. I'm not sure quite how to put this. It's not like Woody isn't Woody. Like, a lot of what he does is kind of what Woody would do. The problem I have is his character hang up in this movie. Like, because he kind of has one in each film. So in the first one, his hang up is there's a new toy, and he's jealous and overshadowed. He feels overshadowed by Buzz because he's new and cool.
Yep.
And his hang up in Toy Story 2 is thinking Andy's gonna grow up and not play with me anymore, and I'd rather be kept in a way where I can always be treasured by kids. And then he overcomes both of those in different ways. And Toy Story 3, I'm a little more vague on, but it was kind of always having to be there for Andy no matter what. And then it kind of evolves into there's always another kid that you can pass on to. It doesn't have to be the same one in the entire time. But in this one, it's like he's not played with for 3 weeks, and he has this mentality that he's never going to be played with again, which is why he's so obsessed with keeping Forky out of the trash. And it just doesn't feel right. And you know, they set up the climax with the opening, and in a really genius way about Bo leaving, and then him at the end deciding to stay with Bo. But I have problems with this for several reasons. So the first thing is, I feel like this is a problem that was already addressed in the first movie. Like, when Buzz shows up, Woody is not played with anymore. He has to knock him out of a window to be played with. And so he knows what it's like to not be played with. And I don't know if that was, we have like that slow time skip, but it was enough time for Andy to completely redecorate his, get all the stuff to redecorate his room, make like these new wings and everything. And so it had to be a good stretch of time when we have the strange things are happening montage where Woody was not really being played with. And if he was, it was like in a negative light to how Buzz was being played with, like how he gets like blasted at one point. So like he was either not being played with or he was, being treated as secondary. And so Woody by now should, and not to mention there was that whole space of time when he wasn't being played with at all. When as Andy was growing to a teenager and stuff. So the fact that Woody would have this I can't do anything for Bonnie complex just for not being played for 3 weeks does not make any sense to me. At all. Adam, I think you're breathing in your mic. Could you please stop doing that?
No, I'm not breathing.
Well, then you should. If you're not breathing, then you should. And if you are, please do it not into your mic.
Yeah. So just the fact that he's like, I am fine with him, being obsessed with Forky, because that's fine, because he knows, and I kind of like the dynamic of maybe he's not in charge anymore, and so he's trying to do something to feel like he's still involved. But this whole I can't do anything anymore except support Forky does not feel right to me at all. From what we have had Woody's character be in the past. When now it's all about there's always another kid, there's someone else that I can be played with. And in 3, it was also about being there for Andy when he needs me. And that sentiment still carries over to Bonnie. It's like, okay, I didn't, in 3, he was hanging on to Andy, but now it's it's still important to be there for Bonnie. That's something he knows. And we've seen before where toys go missing and kids are freaked out about it. Like when Andy lost both Woody and Buzz, those were still his 2 favorite toys, even though Woody was being overshadowed by Buzz. And and Woody didn't really see that, but he was so distressed. And you just imagine, just because he's been played with in 3 weeks doesn't mean Bonnie's gonna go looking for him now, not find him, and now freak out. Kids' favorite toys may change, but it's very seldom that they'll just drop them all like that for no reason. So I already don't like that. I already don't like that dynamic of Woody just feeling desperate to do anything just because he's been played with for a month, he's worthless now as far as he's concerned. That doesn't make any sense as far as Woody should be as a character. And then, and that all also ties back into the end, where the whole thing was always what kills me, what absolutely kills me, is that this ending ruins one of my favorite lines from Toy Story 2. When at the end of the movie in Toy Story 2, he says, "Buzz, it'll be fun while it lasts. And when it's all over, I'll still have old Buzz Lightyear to keep me company to infinity and beyond." And now that's not a thing anymore! Ah!
I think that's what makes it sad.
They ruined it.
No, that's what makes me so freaking heartbroken, but that's because I actually don't like it. It's not like a good heartbroken where it's like, that's really, how it looked like Toy Story 3 was ending. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking to see these characters have to move on to a new kid, but at the same time, it's beautiful because it's part of the cycle. But here, it's just like, yeah, we're splitting up one of the most iconic duos for kids in the 90s and early 2000s, and they expect me to be okay with that, and I'm not okay with that, like, in any sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It tears me up so much, because these two are just supposed to be together. Like, they are part of the original crew, and they're supposed to, like, that's, like, how these movies are so good, as their dynamic. And that's why there just can't be any more. We already talked about that, but there just can't be any more Toy Stories, and this one shouldn't exist either.
Yeah.
Because it just torpedoes what was a perfect ending for this series and for the characters. And it doesn't feel like a Disney Pixar cash grab, because it's still a really good, well-made movie. But it didn't need to happen, and I wish it hadn't happened. Just because of how much this screws over, like, Woody's character, and even Buzz's to a certain extent.
Yeah.
In terms of what he would do. And again, like, when you look at this movie with blinders on, this movie alone, it makes perfect sense, his decision in the end, because of how he develops across the movie. But, again, this complex was introduced in this movie. This movie only, like, brings closure to points that it brings up in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It just drives me absolutely nuts. I hate that. Like, the ending's beautiful, made me kind of cry, but it's only because I hated it.
Yeah.
But
You cried of anger.
I cried of being sad, not even of anger. I was just heartbroken. Like, no, you can't. These are, like, two of my favorite characters ever, and you're splitting them up.
Here.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't.
And some people will argue that's the draw of it, is like they did something that no one thought would ever happen, because it's something no one thought they should ever do. And yeah, that is a strength you could try and play up, but at the same time, most of us don't want that to happen.
Well, I mean, at least with this type of ending, it's a definitive end. Because, like, with the ending with Toy Story 3, the crew was still together, meaning that there could possibly be a fourth one with a different adventure. But now with this one, they're separated. Like, they've gone their own separate ways. And because that dynamic duo of Woody and Buzz aren't there anymore, like, you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, well, it's a definitive ending, but it's not the good ending we had for 3. Like, you didn't, that's the great thing about Toy Story 3, it didn't have to be definitive. It's, like, clear, like, this is the thing. Like, they are passed on to the new kid. This is just a cycle that can happen now. They don't need to expand on this. This is just a perfect way to end the trilogy. Because you had us from the start where Andy was a kid, and then we had, Woody specifically dealing with the idea of Andy growing up. And then we get the ending where Woody watches Andy leave, and, like, he has come to grips with Andy growing up, and he and the rest of them are now with a new kid. Like, there we go. That's perfect. It's beautiful. It's an ending that doesn't need to be like nothing else can be made. It's nothing else has to be made. Nothing has to be changed from this. It's perfect. And they made Toy Story 4 anyway. Yeah, and I get heated about it just because it upsets me so much. But yeah, that's the long and the short of it for me, basically.
Yeah.
Like, did I just go over basically what everyone else is thinking, or?
I mean, you pretty much said it.
Yeah, I have a habit of that. I don't know, Adam, what do you think? Like, you don't need to follow my thoughts exactly, but
what you said about the two duos, that one just really just gets me deep because I like Woody and Buzz because they're like one of my all-time favorite duos in any animated film.
Yeah, and again, there are people that are going to say, well, the fact that it makes you so upset is a good thing. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a good thing if the movie is playing off of my emotions and that it's done well, but it doesn't change the fact that I don't like it. Like,
Yeah, don't like it.
You can argue that it's done well from here to Cincinnati, but that doesn't mean I liked it.
Yeah, literally.
Exactly. Cincinnati's not far enough. Maybe Tokyo. The museum, from here to the museum, they're going to send Woody and Jesse to in Japan in Toy Story 2. Back to that again. But yeah, I mean, I think all in all, that's pretty much all I got to say on the movie because it's everything I can really think of. Feel free to chime in while I think.
I mean, can't really chime in with much you've already said. Like most of it. I mean, like overall thoughts on the movie, I liked it. It was good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Would recommend. And you know, some people are gonna like the ending. Some people are not gonna like the ending. You didn't like the ending. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. I'm like indifferent about it. But yeah, that's like my final verdict on the movie. It's like I like it. It's a good movie. As a Toy Story movie, it's a good movie. As a Toy Story ending, it's not.
No.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Adam?
What about you, Adam?
What?
Final thoughts, like of the movie as a whole.
It turned out to be a pretty good, decent film, but not technically necessary.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the takeaway here.
Yeah, not technically necessary to keep going on. I just, like you said before, it's like a DLC to the series.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the takeaway as a whole. Like the film itself, like by itself, is good, but when it's attached to the Toy Story, like overall saga, especially following what the perfect ending of the series that was, it feels excessive, and also the fact that it changes how the series ends is also deeply upsetting to me, and I'm sure many other people, whether they like the fact that they're upset or not. I don't like the fact that I'm upset. Yeah, I feel like the ending of Death Note all over again, where I'm screaming at my screen that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Seriously. You mean the Netflix the movie?
I don't know.
Screaming that shouldn't have happened.
Your mic's cutting out. I didn't hear anything you just said. Maybe if you talk about stuff that existed, I might be able to. Nice. I might stop cutting out. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna spoil the end of Death Note because not everyone's seen it yet, and that's really good.
He falls off like a Ferris wheel.
Well, I don't. Okay, actually don't tell me how that Netflix movie that doesn't exist ends because I actually do want to see it at some point. I wanted to record myself watching it, but I can't screen cap it because Netflix has this built-in thing where you can't record your screen. It's just a black screen. You just have audio. And I'd have to find like a rip of it somewhere, and I don't really want to do that, but I might eventually.
Yeah, copyright.
Well, it's gonna be copyrighted no matter what. I don't care about that. I mostly just want to have my reactions to the movie as it goes, and then supercut it. But we'll see. Anyway, yeah, final, yeah. So those are our thoughts on the film. It's definitely worth a watch if I mean, it's worth watching no matter what, really. Even if you've never seen any of the Toy Stories, it's still good. It's just you're not really gonna understand kind of our points if you haven't seen the previous three. But yeah, chances are you've seen the previous three before you see.
I highly recommend you watch the previous three.
Oh, and I highly recommend that you watch at least the first two and the third if you got time, and this one if you feel like seeing a Toy Story in theaters. But yeah, it's not even like Star Wars Force Awakens where it's like decent film but bad Star Wars. Like this is just a good it's a good Toy Story and it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beating a dead bullseye at this point. It's just not the ending that it should have.
Yeah.
So, but at the risk of going off another tangent about video games, I think that's all we got for you tonight. Hit all the points I wanted to. It seems I've already said everything that really I wanted to say, and anyone else needed to say about it. Thank you for joining us once again for the J Protocast, as I'm calling it now. We will figure out a topic for next week.
We still gotta think of one.
There's always stuff to talk about, but we'll figure out a one for next week, and I'll probably announce it on Friday's stream. So look forward to that. I'll actually play more Persona 4 this time instead of an obscure JoJo game from 2002.
Yep.
That's about the long and short of it. I've got to edit the Kingdom Hearts podcast where I can post it on YouTube, thanks to somebody.
Yeah,
Adam. No, it was not Adam, you jackass. But I'll get to that. I might even just see if I can post it to YouTube and edit it after, like, just throw a sound over it or something. We'll see, because if I have to download a like nearly 3-hour long video to edit one sound in, I'm going to kill you, Chaba. I am going to kill you for real.
Yep.
Anyway, on that note, have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whatever heck it is, wherever you are, and take care. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.